Okay. Okay, and the magic machine tells me that I am live. So I will assume that I am live and doing okay with no problems with transmission or audio, what who's your call it. And we say hello to Jonacide. Jonacide, congratulations, number one in the live chat. Indeed, a gold star, a gold medal to thee, sir. Folks, I come to you with like stuff. I come to you with like, I'm like Nintendo Power today. If you are a micro chapbook RPG fan, and I can only assume that there are micro chapbook RPG fans out there. Why can I assume that? Well, I've been covering this system like nobody's business, and folks, I gotta tell you, in the last like week, I've picked up 5 subscribers. Guys, I gotta tell you something. It's great. I hung out with a channel that was like an albatross around my neck that had like 5,000 subscribers that I hated, but I hung on to because it had 5,000 subscribers. And to see the the happiness that I experienced when I had these these five little names on a channel that I'm actually enjoying, it reminded it's like bringing it back to the old school. That expression, bringing it back to the old school, it means so much. And we say hello to Renee, Miss Jonaside, grabbing that silver. Listen, your household runneth over with the coin. You got the gold, you got the silver. Hey, listen, you want to grab one of your kids, have them jump on with their phone or something? Go for the trifecta. Go for the hat trick. Why not? You know what I mean? It's a Monday. Why not turn it around? Why not make the day mean something totally else? Folks, listen. So we can only assume that these new people that are coming around are actually fans of the system, which means that people will actually be tuning into these videos that are not just people that are fans of me, people that, like, Jews in exile from the Exodus, following Moses into the great unknown on my mad quest to leave the insanity of UFO conspiracy world for the insanity of, hey, at least we know when we're rolling these dice that this is the game of pretend, in role playing land, whatever. That there's going to be people actually tuning into these broadcasts that actually give a damn about the system. And to those people, I got to tell you, folks, my God, I actually have a build. So I guess the last so look, it's the Halloween season in Micro Chatbook RPG land. If you're in the scene, all the buzz is the Black Ink Depths is the big Lollapalooza like Woodstock event that all the kids are talking about in Micro Chapbook RPG land. Noah Patterson lost their damn mind. They're releasing a mini dungeon a day for the month of October because everyone tears through these dungeons in like a day and immediately says to themselves, get me back in there. Now, in there, immediately. Nothing says to your community like my product has inherent value, like you'll get a day's worth of. Listen, the funny thing about these things, these mini dungeons, is this: is that look, Well, you need the rules. You need the basic rules to play the mini dungeon. But if you have the basic rules to play the mini dungeon, you have the whole game, and you can play infinite numbers of the dungeons. So basically, like, I don't know, I love it, and I bought, even though I keep on talking about how these dungeons are totally discombobulated, and I don't think that Noah Patterson is on yayo. I don't think he's on they are on drugs. I don't think that at all. I'm making jokes. I don't think that they, were like, I don't give a shit about the audience. Fuck these people. I'm Noah Patterson. I have micro chapbook RPG money now, honey. I have that micro chapbook RPG money. Oh, it's time to make another dungeon. Is CW Chanter, aka no incognito, whoever I give a fuck, gonna complain about the leveling? Oh, well, do they think this is how I make up the dungeons? Well, congratulations, it's exactly correct. This is how I figure it out. The monsters are gonna be, I give a fuck. Send it to the people there at the drive through. Fuck your mother. I give a goddamn. They'll get what they get, and they'll buy it because I'm Noah Patterson. Fuck you. They'll buy it. Fuck you. They'll buy it because I'm Noah Patterson. Oh, I built this shit. First you get the micro, then you get the RPG, then you get the bitches, then you get the glow, then you can tell your wife you're gay, and then you get the money, and then you get this guy to have an aneurysm on live YouTube. I kid because we say hello to Tim Frey. So Tim Frey gets the bronze. Unless you're related, are you Tim Frey? Tim Frey, you don't have to be Renee and Genocide's child. If not, the bronze has made an absconsion to another household, but that's fine. Spread the wealth, spread the love. I kid Noah Patterson. I think that they take time and attention to design their games and their their dungeons. I have stated my opinions about the Black Ink Depths levels and dungeons, and I've stated it ad nauseum in the last, two things. I've bought them. Look, I mean, 99 cents is not. It's not. They're not asking for the world. I spend that more than that on, energy drinks and coffees in a day. So I'm not going to, bulk. You know, so and I continue to play. So and I love the system, and I continue to support the designer, the legend, and I think it's great. So, but I think especially with the characters as designed and as given in the starter module, it's impossible. And I will say this: I can say this. Noah Patterson is an inhuman monster. Noah Patterson is an inhuman monster. I'm willing to say that I'm willing to say that. Okay, this is I know that. Be careful what you say on the internet. Be careful what you say. There's criticism, there's critique, but there's things you can't take back. I know what I'm saying. I've looked at ha ha ha, whatever. All kidding aside, Noah Patterson is an inhuman monster. And you know who agrees with me? Noah Patterson. Yeah, no, no, yes, yes, it's true. It's true. We've been over this. I am in communication with Noah Patterson on Instagram DM. one of two possibilities. Either possibility one, the solo RPG world is kind of small, not that big, and therefore, even as kind of a big mover and shaker in the world and the scene, Noah Patterson still finds themselves with time to engage with the audience. Option number two that I choose to believe, even though the solo RPG scene is bumping and huge. I mean, we're talking Seattle. I mean, not 1993, but like 91. Things are starting to happen. Things are starting to percolate. Buzzes around. The sharks are in the water. People are coming in from LA. A lot of suits in the clubs. Let's just say that. A lot of money floating around. Let's just say that. Right? And still, Noah Patterson just finds me just that fascinating to still communicate with and talk to him. Anyway, so I said to Noah Patterson, I said, you, I'll give you the inside skinny. I'm not so crass and gross as to show you screenshots. That's gross. I'll just tell you exactly what happened. I'll read it to you. And if you don't believe me, well, then you're desperate and basic. So this goes back to Friday. So I thought this was journalism. I said finally. I said to myself, I'm going to do some journalism. Listen. So I'm gonna do some journalism. I'm gonna poke the bear here a little. I'm gonna basically come at Noah. This is Friday. So I wrote him. Said, due to your failure to properly balance the Halloween dungeons, I have to put you and your whole system on trial. It's a kind of mock performance art thing. I apologize in advance. It's also an explanation for the downshift of my comments. I'm the number one commenter on their video, on their posts on Instagram. Listen, I don't think there's a lot going on in this world, in this scene. Like I said, I've also gotten lazy about checking Instagram. And then they replied. They replied to my comment about the dungeons not being leveled. And they wrote, lol, indeed, since it is sort of a creative experiment of make one a day, I knew the difficulty would swing from level to level. So they're saying that the difficulty is swinging. But they're also saying that basically, I think that they're saying that they're making these on day to day. Like, I would think that if they were releasing these, if I knew I was going to be releasing a mini dungeon every day for the month of October on Drive-Thru RPG, like, I would have that shit written in June. I don't know. I'd be ready to go. Like, I don't know. That would just be me. But I don't know. I don't know how the fuck this shit works. I certainly don't know how Noah works. But I'll tell you what. Noah's shit is like full of fuck. I love it. My shit's like, you should see my shit. Like, my professional stuff is full of typos. I'm always like cutting corners, whatever. So I'm not one to judge. But like, talk about typos. Like, Noah is the queen of like, there's like typos out the yang. Like, I'll show you this. This is great. Watch this. This is great. This is perfect. So this is like something I can show you for like this is like great like Halloween gaming, micro chapbook RPG, micro RPG gaming for the Halloween season. This is available on Drive-Thru RPG. So this is the micro files. There's 2 micro files, issues 1 and 2. One is called Sandy Savagery, and the other one is called. Let me find the other one too, so I can show them both of you because it only makes sense if I show them both to you. Hold on. You must remember this. I love this. I love working with all this. Oh, here it is, right here. And the other one is called Star Vampire Nexus. And watch this. Let me show it to you, like how it works here. So the great thing about these is that they're 2 pages each. And what you get with them, the reason they're so good is you don't get the rules. Like the thing that's missing from them is the rules. So you need to know the rules of micro chapbook, micro RPG, micro sci-fi RPG. But if you know any iteration of micro sci-fi RPG and you had like 1 or 2 of these printed out, you have all the charts. You have the room chart, the door chart, and the enemy chart, which is all you need. And then actually on the other page, you not only have a workable but small character sheet, right above it, you have the limited graph paper for a small dungeon. And this is perfect for the limited space. It's perfect for if you want to make sure that you don't get a dungeon that runs out of control, right? So that's great. So, but what I want to show you is this microfiles number 1. Now check this out. Microfiles number 1, page number 1, microfiles number 1, clearly labeled. Underneath the guy, Sandy Savagery, right there, Sandy Savagery. Microfiles number 2, underneath the photo, Star Vampire Nexus, right? But we flip the page. And what does it say? It says microfiles number 2, Sandy Savagery. Oh, you had one job. Ooh. Bam. That kind of shit abounds in Noah Patterson shit. It abounds. What are you gonna do? Fuck it. I mean, fuck it, right? You know what I mean? But it's there. Do you know what I mean? Fuck it. Fuck it. Whatever. Do you know what I mean? Here's Tim Frey. Typos equal document character unless a newspaper. Well, kind of also, but unless. But hey, so my point was this: is that if they're doing this on the fly, it explains why some of this stuff is not balanced. But also, if those mechanics that I was looking at, where I was looking at some of those room mechanics, where it was like those complicated, like interlocking. Because here's the thing. Here's what I think the deal is. If you look at some of those complicated room resolution mechanics, because what ends up happening in the Black Ink Depths is basically there's 2 themes, because I've looked at every single one of them, and it's basically consistently the 2 major problems are this. It's always the same thing. The enemies are massively higher powered compared to the standard enemies that I would normally see in the 1.5, 1.25, rule sets. Meaning that if we're generating characters at the same level that we were in Castle of the Dead, then there's no way they're mathematically facing enemies that are 4 times the hit power, the strength, and they have damage modifiers and armor compared to the enemies in Castle of the Dead. And you're going to tell me that these characters are going to be able to perform as well or different, that they're not performing differently. So anyway, it's ridiculous. It's just fucking ridiculous. The notion that these levels were being play tested, or that Noah has been taking first generated characters through any of their dungeons any time recently. I don't think, because there's just no way that you could think that a 7-point build character is going to be able to play against these enemies. So anyway, what's going on is that if you look at some of the mechanics in the room resolution, my complaint was that the enemies were too high powered, and number two, which I think was the result of people in the community are playing and have been playing so long that they're all have leveled up characters, right? So they've all been naturally saying, let's have higher leveled monsters. So they're all like playing homebrew rules where they're asking for, they're doing, or that's why these 1.75 monsters are getting to these higher levels or whatever. But meanwhile, if you're still recommending that characters start off at these beginning levels, please, you get the point. You don't need me to explain that, whatever. 4 times 1 is more than 1, whatever. So anywho, the next part is this. Instead of the simple dungeon resolution mechanic, which was after seeing all the enemies, basic enemies once, which could be a grind because you could see all the enemies after a little while, or you could see all the enemies after a ways. You would see the boss. That was the traditional dungeon resolution. And you could modify it under simple rules to make sure you weren't there all day. Now, in the Black Ink Depths, instead of those dungeon resolution via simple boss appearance mechanic, we have these kind of what I would liken to these kind of Silent Hill, JRPG kind of complex puzzle mechanics. Find this clue, and then if you find X number of clues, then you can turn the lock, and you keep track of this. Man, all of those things, keeping track of all those things it's another D20 dice that you're going to have to keep on the side to keep using as a counter, and then remember that you're using that as a counter. Now, if you're like me, you're probably playing late at night. Man, I got to tell you, I'm not doing the late night activities that I used to do. But I remember the late night activities that I used to do, and I wouldn't want to be. Last night when I was gaming, there was one point where I was having to keep track of the health of 4 enemies with, I think they had 12 hit points each. Right? Man, that stinks when you're keeping track of 12 hit points each for enemies, and you've got your hit points and your willpower to keep track of, and then you're doing things like if you had an archer and you're trying to keep track of your arrows and stuff, and then you're adding in a mechanic like you're trying to keep track of how long your lantern stays on and stuff. Man, all these mechanics seem really cute. And especially if you're a game designer who's doing like a dungeon a day and you're designing it theoretically in your head, but you're not necessarily playing it out. Man, if you're just doing old school micro chapbook RPG and you're just figuring out and you're just kind of weighing out the mechanics of a slightly weaker weapon set versus a slightly higher boss, but with weakened minions all the way through to kind of give it a kind of Beowulf, grand dramatic, greater likelihood that there's going to be a fatality at the boss battle. Yeah, you can, fuck around a little bit here, a little bit there, and, play with probabilities and stuff and still kind of have a guesstimate or a feel for how things are going to work out. But if you're throwing around a whole bunch of different mechanics and you're just kind of figuring what they may do or might do when people are rolling those dice, man, like I said, when I was looking at these Black Ink Depths, I was saying, remember, I was contemplating, is it the fact that Noah Patterson could have been thinking, here's the point of this Halloween dungeon. Remember I said, was it the point that these rules are so crazy and esoteric because, don't worry, you're never going to get to figure out how many turns of the lickety split keychain lickety dick it takes to figure out if the chapel door opens 3 times at midnight, because you're never going to get that far, because you're going to die in room number 3, guarantee. Because even if you've got a level 5 super mage, there's no way that the third frog toad of poison verbatim doesn't lick your asshole to oblivion. No fucking way. Impossible, right? 5 across the board on your stats, right? Max weapon, right? Double proficiency in charisma. You're not doing it. You're dead, right? We figured it out. We ran the numbers at MIT. You're screwed. That's why these esoteric rules at the end are just a fucking joke. But I don't think that's the case. I just think it's, whatever. It's death by Hammurabi. It's like, okay, you know what I mean? It's 99 cents, so I'm not breaking the bank. So, you know what I mean? What are you going to do? Look, the comic is called Gargoyle Princess Eats Ass and then Vomits on Your Mom. What do you think you were getting? Shakespeare? Yes, I thought I was getting Shakespeare. I believe that a person has a certain right, a certain expectation of quality in the space, in every space, even the underground comic space. Man, this isn't the underground comic space, man. This is my fucking room that you just keep on coming into, right? And we jerk off in the corner together, and then I show you my art. And I'm in love with you, and you just like won't even talk to me during class, so I don't even know what's going on here, man. I don't even know what's going on here. Look, I'm gonna leave again, and we're not gonna talk about this. Okay, that's what's going on here. And things have always been awkward between me and Noah Patterson. Anywho, so I got a lot of problems with the Black Ink devs. I found the gaming dissatisfying. So the leveling was a problem, and I thought the mechanics were too cumbersome at the end. But I keep on buying them. Then I bought the latest ones, and in the meantime, look, I just keep on playing. But we say hello to Andrew Vale. Fourth, no medal for thee, but you do get the honorable mention. So I keep on playing. I keep on dancing. And what I have been playing was not the latest dungeons being released by Noah Patterson, peace be upon their name, but the games that made the house famous, the first games, like Castle of the Dead, like House of Vermin, and like what I was playing last night, Lair of the Lizard Man, which I think might have been the first one, if I'm not mistaken, but I have to look into that. I love the funny, craziest thing. What changes from game to game in these first iterations? What changes? What makes Lair of the Lizard Men different from House of Vermin, different from Castle of the Dead? It is the name, the CGI illustration, the names of the melee weapons, merely the names of the melee weapons and ranged weapons. The cost and damages remain the same. The names of the armor and items remain exactly the same. The names of the room types change. The names of the doorways stay exactly the same. The names of the monsters change. There is very little derivation between the damage between the monsters. When I talk about wanting to memorize the early game system, I talk about trying to memorize the early game system. There's very little that changes and varies between these first couple of games to the point where it's literally the same tables that I would have to memorize. The only data that changes, if you look at the value, I figured out the value of the monsters. It's the name of the monsters at the second and third place. The monsters either has does the health damage of 1 or 1d3 at the second position, and at the first position it'll do a will damage of 1 or 1d3. So you see, there's just slight variations between the sets, the games. It's just the names. But I tell you, just the names. So I hadn't played Lair of the Lizard Men. But it has its names of, it's just the rooms: dirt, stone, jungle, hot springs, lava flow, and temple, interfacing with the names of the lizard men, this jungle atmosphere, and these lizard antagonists, shades of Land of the Lost, right? Shades of various Conan the Barbarian kind of scenarios. Very, very evocative. And what I was doing, particularly the last couple of nights, was I was experimenting, I guess kind of spurred on by the difficulty that I had experienced initially with the black ink depths. I thought about characters that could do something with, hold on, let me get organized here, with that doesn't belong there. With these dungeons. And I thought about this before, about superior builds. Here we go. Wait on. Okay. One needs to go in there. Where is he? Here we go. Perfect. And this led me to an experiment with 3 different monster builds based out of Madame Mortica's Blood Offering. One of them was a Grand Slam hit, and 2 of them were fascinating builds. And we'll go into them. I'm only going to do them one at a time so that we'll get some fuel out of this. But also because I take so long, we were already 30 minutes in and I haven't even covered the first one. But Madame Mortica's Blood Offering, I talked about this when I did my, best ways to add, good content or variety to your micro chapbook, micro RPG game quickly. Madame Mortica's Blood Offering was on my list of things that you could do, or things that you could add quickly, because it's not that much, it's not expensive. But what it does is it adds these horrific bloodlines like vampire, werewolf, mummy, specter, gill monster, construct, zombie, and phantom, which are basically extra qualities that you could put onto your character, your pre-existing character, that adds stat bonuses, stat defects in many instances, and we could talk about that when we talk about the other characters that I built. But uh, they provide some very OP powers, and we'll do that when we come to the character that I'm going to show you today, the elf, the unstoppable elf phantom goddess. Now I haven't called her that previously. I just called her I just called her the elf, an elf phantom. Oh, but oh, what a build. And really, even at level 1, this is a build that I could say, if you were having trouble with micro RPG, if you were having trouble with, uh, especially even if you were having trouble, particularly with the black ink depths, here's something that I could recommend, a build that I could recommend to try that might turn everything around. So if you have Madame Mortica's or Madame Morca's blood offering supplement, then this is a build you can try right away if you're having difficulty. Okay, so I'll show you the my scrolled in thing, and I built up this character simply playing the initial early early scenario, House of Vermin, and had a lovely time. And what it is it's simply an elf performer, like, which is it was created using the 1.75 rule set. Um, Even though I don't really play 1.75 rules. And we'll talk about that because when it gets into leveling, I, still choose to level kind of using the old gold standard of kind of like Dark Souls, using one unit of currency for everything, buying equipment and leveling. Um, and that's just because I really hadn't thought ahead and hadn't looked in at leveling in things. But then again, I'm not really looking for another mechanic to learn and another thing to hold on to. I got everything out of my backpack and brought every book over, but doesn't look like I brought over that basic guidebook. Hold on, wait. Where did I put it? I'll find it. I won't find it. Lord have mercy. Okay. I had everything in one place, and then I had everything in no place. It's the story of my life. Oh no! What did I do with everything I had in my life? No! Oh, wait. Ah, there you are. Here we go. So basically, you start with an elf performer, and the reason that I did that is because here's what happens. Let me go this here. How to do this. So I gotta tell you this. Here we go. Here's Andrew Vale. We have a comment here. You always been into pen and paper RPGs and toy action figures, or is this a recent thing? I'm contemplating whether or not to block you, because there's like no reason to ask me that question other than like I just feel like it's douchey. I just feel like you're being a douche. Anyway, it is what it is. So I apologize because I am not used to taking people through, like, I'm teaching or educating or explaining things is a skill set onto itself. So explaining to you or deconstructing for you things that I did previously as far as putting together a character, like taking you through a process like that, um, even though it was my intention to do so, and even though I thought and I knew in advance it was what I was going to do, and I thought that was going to be a simple process to do, now that I undertake the process, realize that it's kind of complex. So anyway, here we go. Let me. It'll be easier maybe if I bring forward the character sheet. Also, I also want to say this. Um, there is, you know, oh, here we go. If explain this with this in order. Yeah. It also gives us an opportunity to talk about artificial intelligence art programs and their ability to help us visualize and create images of our OCs, our original characters, or our play characters, our game characters. Because I've got, if you look for when I end up putting up the thumbnail, I was able to use artificial intelligent art programs to create several images of a Phantom Elf uh, player to visualize this character, and got some really incredible results. And it's just amazing to me, you know, the difference, the world that a role playing player has compared to, because I remember, as being a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid playing Dungeons and Dragons, because it it was not beyond my conception to want to envision playing a Phantom Elf or something like this. And if I wanted to create a visual avatar, oh, I would have to do that myself, with crayons and pen and pencil, colored pencil. And as an 11-year-old, oh God, I have some of the lasting visual mementos of my attempts at rendering into the world my brave characters. Ooh, oh God. But now, oh my God, you can see these people in the flesh, in many real ways. It's incredible. Anyway, so let's do this. If you hopefully this will be pertinent to people who are into this game moving forward in this stream. I know my streams can be entertaining even if you're not necessarily into the subjects from time to time, because I could be entertaining when agitated or aggrieved or loud. Believe you me, we will be entering into a phase of the video where I will be talking about Micro Chapbook RPG qua Micro Chapbook RPG. We will be entering in, I guess, what could be called the tax accounting upkeep phase of the video. So I'm not going to be doing too much hand holding. I'm going to assume familiarity with the rules or an interest in the rules. If there are people here who are not interested, actually, Andrew, I gotta tell you something. This is actually the opposite. It's actually kind of not hardcore. What this is actually this particular system, micro RPG, micro chapbook RPG. The naming convention kind of gets kind of wonky for reasons that'll be too complex to try and add in as a side discussion here now. It's actually an ultra simple role-playing game system designed for solo quick play. You can learn the rules of micro chapbook RPG, micro RPG in about 5 minutes, couple of minutes. When it started in 2020, it was distributed most commonly like this, as games that were designed to be printed out front and back on one piece of paper and folded like a chapbook so that the character sheet would go on the front and that all the rules would follow as such. And the rule for character creation would involve this, and it's basically just involves 4 stats. It's a roll under system. No stat goes higher than 5. A 1 is an automatic success. A 6 is an automatic failure, which is why no stat goes higher than 5. There's a built-in system for the generation of the dungeons and the stocking of those dungeons in real time with the monsters, and the resolution of combat, and the resolution of a simple resolution for the getting of treasure and simple gold. So it's actually very, very, very simple, though it's gotten more complex, a little bit more complex over time with the addition of more mechanics. I would recommend you watch all of my prior videos or some other videos about it. That would be the easiest way to do it. It would be harder for me to take the time to do it now. It'd probably make more sense for me to just plow on and continue on with the main thrust of my video. I apologize if I snapped at you. I apologize if I snapped at you. We say hello to Juicy J. Okay. We say hello to Juicy J. So let me do this. The purpose of this build is to exploit the phantom characteristic from Madame Mortga's Blood Offering. Let's start by reviewing that. Here's this. The phantom gains +1 to charisma. And they gain this main power, which is what we're looking for. Frightening, hiding in the shadows, conniving to get your way. You are a frightening force. Before combat begins, make a charisma check. If you pass, half of the monsters in the room run away, rounded up. Additionally, every time you pass a bravery check, you deal 1 damage to all enemies. Okay, so the way combat works in Micro Chapbook RPG is when you enter a room and you've generated the monsters, combat begins immediately. So normally the first thing you do is be the bravery check. So it's basically, when they say before combat begins, it's basically the first bravery check. So it's before the first bravery check, there's a bravery check, because the bravery check is a charisma check. So the phantom gains +1 to charisma. So we're going to build out a maxed out charisma build. So that's going to be a performer character, which is essentially a bard. So when we then go to pick up our character building with the Micro Chapbook RPG Basic Edition rulebook, now I'm going to tell you something. We're going to take the easy way out on all aspects of creating a character. Section 3.0, creating a character. Stats. You have 4 statistics. You have 7 points to assign between them as you see fit. 9 for an easier game. 9 for an easier game? Yes, please. Tim Frey, yeah, I couldn't tell if the comment was hostile or not. Texting, emails made me paranoid. The days when people communicated through letters must have been super paranoid crazy. You can't tell with texting. All subtlety is lost. All nuance is lost. That I tell people, I tell people, I said, be very, very careful with texting. You can't tell. You can't tell. You know what I mean? But anything that's a question, I always tell people, be very, because questions inherently are hostile, because you are asking something of me when I can't really, by the nature of the scenario and setup, can't really ask the same of you. They're inquisitory. They're not accusational. They kind of feel. And when you're asking me, like, I don't know, it's like, mind your own. It's like, what and why, and what, and is it germane to what we're doing now? It's like, well, think. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, mind your P's and Q's. But it's okay. Anyway, you have 4 statistics. You have 7 points. So 9 for an easier game. We're taking it. 9 for an easier game. Absolutely. No stat can have a score lower than 1 or higher than 4 at this point. Why not lower than 1? 1 is an automatic success. We need the 1. Stats are strength, dexterity, wits, and charisma. Class. Choose a class. There are 4 basic ones to choose for. Fighter, traveler, magic user, performer. It's basically your fighter. Your traveler is basically your ranger, your thief. Your magic user is your wizard. Your performer is your bard, your cleric. And your performer is going to be the one that's proficient in charisma. That means when you normally roll your stat roll in this game, it's a roll under system. You're trying to get your statistic or under. We're going to want a 5 in charisma. That's what we're going to want to build up to, so that everything is, we're going to want to hit charisma as much as possible, because we're going to want to clear the room of monsters as much as possible and hit charisma or that bravery check as much as possible. Why? To hit damage as much as possible against those enemies as much as possible. So when you're proficient in something, you roll 2 dice. So you increase your likelihood of being a success story at it. Race. Choose race. Race grants you +1 bonus to 1 stat. There are 5 basic races. And our elf gives us our +1 to charisma. So if I bring up our present, share screen, window. If I show you my original blah, blah, blah. Now this has been marked up and I've leveled up already. So I'm going to have to deconstruct things a little bit for you. But my original 9 points buy-in for stats was, if I can read my notes here, where did I have it here? Crap. 9-point assignment as per basic. Yeah, what were they? Oh, I think it was 3. Wait, what? Wait, 3. Maybe it was. Oh, here it was. It was a 3, 1, 2, 3. So the original 9-point spread was 3 in strength, 1 in dexterity, 2 in wits, and 3 in charisma. Okay. And by taking the performer class, we became proficient in charisma, and also that means that we got a spell in charisma, a charisma spell. And our first charisma spell was shield, which meant that we could spend 1 willpower point, okay? And if we pass a charisma check at that point, we would get a shield that would last for 1d6 rounds of combat and would half the monster damage cost us, okay? Later on, after we leveled up, we got a fire spell, which means that during range combat, we could cast a fire spell for 1 willpower point that would do, check this out, that would do 1d6 plus our charisma fire damage plus our level bonus, our damage level bonus, which is 1. So it would do at a minimum our charisma is 5. So at a minimum, when we do a fire spell, if we cast it successfully, at a minimum, it does 1 point. A minimum roll would be 1 on a 1d6 plus our 5 plus our damage bonus of 1 is 5, 7. Dude! So we could be shielded up, doing a 7 on our ranged attack with a fire, then hitting with a friggin' weapon. And now that we're leveled up, we took an extra point in strength. So now our strength is 4. We're unstoppable. And this clearing the room spell, when it hits, forget about it. Because when you clear the room, but then you still kill the enemies at the end, there's nothing in the rules that makes a difference between that like slacks the number of experience or gold that you win for the fact that there were less enemies in the room or anything like that. So you're just making it easier on yourself, and you're still getting the same amount of money, and you're just getting less damage, and you're just making it easier on yourself. It's just great. It's insanity. And it makes it a lot, and just clearing the room of all those guys makes it just so much easier. But a lot of it comes down to the luck of the roll when you roll for spells. Because look, when you roll for spells, you can roll kind of for casing. Like when I rolled for spells for 2 other characters that I built, one was a construct, which is kind of like a Frankenstein's monster, and one was a zombie. The construct already has the ability to heal themselves with a wits check. I built them as a wizard, a construct wizard. Yeah, experimental builds. This is how we find new things. They ended up rolling a healing spell with wits, a healing. So they got a duplicative spell, basically. That shit happens. I had another character and this if you've been role playing for any length of time, that sometimes you're playing an old school pen and paper RPG like Dungeons and Dragons. You're building that first level character, that first level wizard, and you roll for your first spell, and it's some dinky spell like friggin' like read foreign language or some shit. You know what I mean? Like read sigil or some crap. You know what I mean? Discern clue. Some fucking garbage. You know what I mean? Some garbage. Light candle. Some crap. You know what I mean? Discern water skin. Some fucking bullshit. Some fucking trash. You know what I mean? Track gelatinous cube Fortnite. Some fucking shit. You know what I mean? Right? Oh God. Just like whatever. Tracker to tavern. On a roll of 1d6, successfully tracked tavern's keeper to tavern. On a natural roll of 1, he has a menu. You know what I mean? Like, what is it? House rules? What? Cursey, the Bullskin Library. That place burned down. God, Jesus. So anyway, you do that. So we were able to build up, and we were able to come out of the gate with 5 charisma. 5 charisma, 3 strength, 1 in dexterity we didn't even need, and 2 wits. So even though we were kind of like blowing ourselves up on every friggin', wits check, it didn't matter because we were with 5 charisma, you can re-roll anything that's not a D6 automatic failure. So even though I was constantly whiffing wits checks on, certain doors, re-roll it. Sure, yeah, catching a 6 every once in a while, ending the streak on a 6. But even then, what is it then? ID 3 damage. Okay. Not a bad way to do it. So we're basically she's marched in and out of this place with enough gold. And of course, look, I did old school standards. I was doing it gold XP, gold to level up. And it used to be 100 gold to level up, 50 for an easier game. So I did that, even though here it's level up. And then in the basic, in the 1.75 basic thing, I ran into my first problem leveling up. It says, in between games, you may return to town to spend 100 XP to level up. Now, if I wanted to keep track of XP, there's all this thing where I'd have to keep track of the number of the monsters I cleared, this whole thing. I could learn how to do it. I don't feel like learning a new thing. So then I think the one thing that I might do is I might just do it when I clear a dungeon from now on. I might just dupe the number of coinage that I have. Like I just might note to myself the number of coins that I have, the number of gold that I have when I go into a dungeon, and the number of gold that I have when I have coming out. And then just note the amount of gold that I have coming out and put that into an XP pool so that so that I don't use the same pool of resources for leveling as I do for gold, but that I don't double dip. But then I don't want to do this leveling chart because then when I looked at this, I was like, wait, do I have to doing this thing, the bonuses? So technically my guy doesn't even take the bonus for the bonus to max health and max will. So it may mean why I'm experiencing some of these things. Some of these dungeons is harder than some other people might be. But then again, I don't feel like making my game harder doing all this stuff. If I want to do that, I play Tunnels and Trolls. Spell. The spells are pretty good, but then again, this is the basic edition rulebook, and again, and Microchapbook RPG is such a funny scene now. It's such a funny, crazy scene now. Why? Because headed into 2021, the whole community was being told, and again, I came to the scene late. So as I was coming into the scene was when the basic edition rulebook kind of basically dropped, and everyone was being told the new paradigm is going to be basic edition, and it was basically kind of going to be the Dungeons and Dragons model, where there was going to be the basic edition 1.75 rules and the advanced character creation 1.75 rules. So there was going to be basically a basic and an advanced 1.75 rule set, and everything was going to be that. But the older editions, everything was basically compatible. It was acknowledged that everything was compatible. And I could tell you, somebody that's seen the advanced character system, the basic system, and everything, though I haven't played advanced characters, I can tell you everything appears to be perfectly cross compatible. But I can tell you what, everyone was told that post 1.75 drop, everything was going to be adhering to 1.75. And I can tell you that since then, none of that has been true at all. Because since 1.75, Noah Patterson has gone right on their merry way, just revitalizing and changing things as they go. Now, I got to take a look at that Madame Mortka's Blood Offering again, because there's another book here that we got to take a look at too. What we got? It's got it right here. This Deepest Dungeon, because this is a brutal mega dungeon for one undead hero. This has got rules for some of the same kind of same type of characters, but they're different. So, like, I think they're different vampires. Like, so it's like, yeah, like, check this out. This is weird. Hey, Rugged Source, what's going on? So it's like this is part of the problem with micro chapbook RPG. Okay. So in deepest in deepest dungeon, you have a vampire. Each hero who dies and ends up in the land of lost heroes is corrupted and changed forever. So it's the same thing. It's basically each character. You start off with a regular character. One of your characters in a normal game can come here, and then they become an undead class, and then they can leave the deepest dungeon. The same thing happens in Mortika's. Look, here's the problem. There's two different types of vampires now, and actually there's three, because if you got Madame Mimbley's mortification thing, there's a race too, but listed differently too. So there's basically three different types of vampires. How do you like me now? Let's compare. In the deepest dungeon, the vampire gains +1 to charisma. They have the power of bite. Whenever a vampire succeeds at a melee attack, they make a second melee check to bite the opponent and gain back d6 plus their level health. Okay. And then they have this power called Charm that says whenever a vampire succeeds at bravery, they make another charisma check to gain d6 plus their level will back. But in Madame Morka's, the vampire gains a bonus to any one stat of their choosing. So that's better than getting just a bonus to charisma. And in Madame Morka, they get this power called Bloodsucker. Whenever you roll an automatic success in melee combat, which is a natural 1, you may make a second strength roll to drink. If you pass, you deal double the damage for the attack and gain back any health equal to the damage dealt. That's completely different. That's fucking completely different. Holy shit, Noah. That's completely different. What do you think is the time difference between this? No, fuck, that's fucked up. I love this. But that's so fucked up. There's two different types of vampire. Can I get an amen? This is Deepest Dungeon, a brutal mega dungeon for one undead hero, is copyright 2021. Madame Morka's is copyrighted. What say you? 2021. That's two different vampires in the same fucking year. The zombies are totally different too. Zombie powers. Zombies gain +1 strength, bite. Whenever a zombie succeeds at melee attack, they make a second melee check to bite the opponent and inflict d6 plus their level extra damage. No pain. A zombie can't feel pain, thus all incoming will damage automatically takes -1d3 modifier, which is totally different than the zombie here, which I have, which I love, which is so OP. Bonus, here's the zombie that we have here is zombies gain +1 to strength, but -1 from charisma due to rotted face and -1 from wits from brain rot. They have the power to consume. Whenever you roll an automatic success in melee, that's a 1, make another strength roll. If you pass, gain +1 to max health. Wait till I tell you, I got a guy last night who went up to +19. Yeah, Andrew, if you know, NC-17 is a rating system in America. It means that no one's allowed into the movie under the age of 17 without an adult. It's basically like not X, but it's like a way to say that a movie is R without being like it's dirty. It's like a way to be like a movie's classy but dirty. Um unflinching. All incoming health damage is halved, rounded down. You also don't take the negative modifier when you're at 0 will. That's a crazy bonus. Totally different than the bonus that are given to these guys in Deepest Dungeon. It's crazy. You have different rules for zombies. You have different rules for these people. It's incredible. Oh my God. Yo, I didn't even realize that. I assumed they'd be the same. Yo, you have to figure out like different zombies have different powers. It's okay, Andrew. Don't worry about it. That's nuts. We'll have to figure out how the different but with the plus and minuses of using the different ones would be. So anyway, but what I'm telling you now is that the build that I am recommending to try your hand at, first of all, the pickup recommendation of the century for micro chapbook aficionados has got to be Madame Morka's Blood Offering, because these powers are OP. This Phantom is OP as get the fuck out. That clear the room power is nutso bagutso. And we're going to be trying some of these other guys out too, because they're nuts. I'm going to try the Deepest Dungeon people too. We'll see how they perform. We'll road test them. Zombie versus zombie. There's no PvP in Micro Chapbook. There's no crying in baseball, and there's no PvP in Micro Chapbook RPG. Yet. We'll have to homebrew it. We'll have to figure something out. Folks, I hope you liked it. Again, let me review. If you're going to start off, the recommended character build that I had for you today was, let me get my notes here. The Phantom Elf starts off with using the most liberal interpretation of character creation in the basic edition rulebook, or any standard creation scenario for Micro Chapbook RPG. If it's one of the systems that has magic use, it's for the best. If it doesn't have a magic user, it's just a straight charisma build. It's just a straight charisma build. It's just a straight charisma build. That's the fine. You're still taking the powers from the main chutzpah. The main get up and go is from the Phantom power from Madame Morka's Blood Offering. You're starting with a 9-point build, starting with a elf who gets the +1 in charisma. So you're starting with a 3, 1, 2, 3, 9-point spread, 3 points in strength, 1 point in dexterity, 2 points in wits, 3 points in charisma. You're using your elf ability, your elf racial characteristics to bump that charisma up to a 4. You're then phantoming out. You get that +1 bonus from being a phantom. That takes you right up to a max charisma of 5. So you're starting off at the outset of the game with a max charisma of 5, but with a respectable strength of 3. But with that charisma of 5, remember, by constantly surviving and passing those bravery checks, remember your bravery checks with this power of being frightening, every time you pass a bravery check, you're dealing 1 damage to enemies. So every time you're dealing a bravery check, you're grinding those enemies down. Even a tough enemy is, every time combat is going, you're never at a nullity point. You're gaining something. You're able to reroll. If you're gaining terrible damage on something, someone gets a 6 on the 96 damage score on you, you're using your wits to reroll that damage roll to hope for something a little bit more merciful. You're doing good. Hopefully, you're doing good. You're allowed to reroll treasure rolls. You are, as long as they're not. Well, no, treasure rolls actually, there's no such thing as a natural 6 on treasure roll, except if it's I guess if it's a 1, I guess you consider it a 1. I guess that gets into rule interpretation. We're getting into the weeds there. Anyway, So you're starting off respectfully there, and have at it. There you go. And then a lot of this stuff comes down to luck. If you're playing with a system that involves magic, a lot of this might come down to your luck of the dice when it comes down to your roll. Hey, look, man, if you roll well, man, oh man alive, with charisma as your main stat and charisma as your proficiency, and you are a performer character, so charisma is your stat. And if you're using the advanced character creation system, I might have to take a look at that. So yeah, that might turn things around and change things around. That may get you into some heady waters with your build. That may get into some heady waters. That might be some fast. That might be some woo wee. You might have yourself a blog post there. Might have some blog articles to write there about what to do. But even here, even with the basic edition rule book, if you roll right for your initial spell, get out there. Oh man, if you get healing, woo wee, unstoppable. Oh man, unstoppable. I mean, but then again, if you get balance where you're able to heal your charisma, you're already your charisma is going to be at max. It's never leaving max. That's going to be a waste of your time. Oh man, but if you get fire or ice, oh man, oh man, oh you're killing it. You're killing it. And teleport, if you get teleport and you're able to get out of there, get out of dodge, the sweetness, the sweetness. Oh baby, oh baby, forget about it. And then if you get, oh man, then forget about it. Then you get into homebrew town. You get yourself there. Get yourself the Excel spreadsheet. You take that 6-point list, expand it out there to 12. Add yourself in there some custom spells. Oh, the sweetness. And who helped you figure it out? Who helped you figure it out? Oh, it was CW Chanter. It wasn't Noah Patterson. No, Noah Patterson fucked it all up. He screws up his own rule set. It's CW Chanter that helps you out there. It's Cable Guy Incognito. It's Benjamin Alk, and it's Noah Patterson. We gotta love Noah Patterson. They're the greatest. We love everybody. I love everybody. Guys, gals, everybody in between, those on the non-binary spectrum. I thought about broadcasting this day. I thought about not broadcasting this day. But look, what's in a name? Foolishness. You take a name, you find a name offensive, you change the name. Who changes the name? The people in power. People in power didn't change. Makes the people in power feel better that they changed the name. That they changed the name. Changed it to a name that they chose. Another name that they chose. Right? Nothing ever changes. Just more names. More names for more games. Different names for different dice, different rule sets for the same old game. God bless us. God bless us, everyone. A card for today's stream from the Zombie Tarot. A card for me and you before we go. Ten of Cups. We got it all, baby. Ten. At the end of the rainbow, full. Full and complete. We got it. We need not look for anything more. We got it done, and we got it. If we had a problem, we solved it. Take a look around. We had some problems in the past, but they were that a ways. There'll be talk of new cycles tomorrow. But this is today. I love you. I love you all. Thank you for coming by. Thank you for participating. Thank you for being part of this leg of the journey. I hope you got something out of my full cup. I thank Noah Patterson for the gift that keeps on giving, the gift that is the micro RPG, micro chapbook, micro sci-fi RPG, micro RPG system. God, it has been a blast to participate, to jump on board, to exchange DMs, to see people subscribe, to read the books, to see how they work, to recognize different mechanics from different systems. Oh yeah, that's got to be. Oh, kind of. I was Noah thinking. Was this Noah trying to do, like, kind of like, Guildhall Gambit. It's kind of this, I think this is kind of them doing kind of like a dungeon crawl classic, zero level character funnel in Microchapbook RPG. That's cool. Okay. Here's what the Zombie Tarot guidebook has for Ten of Cups. Another perspective. Peace, contentment, family. It's about time you caught a lucky break. The Ten of Cups showers you with happiness and a recipe and a respite against the advancing zombie horde. Kick back, crack open a cold one, and enjoy the good times while they last. Family and friends gather around to strengthen bonds and make plans for the future. All right. Well, I think that's apt, and I think that's good. I'll bring you more Monster Mash characters in the future and future episodes. Let me know in the comment section below if you're a Microchapbook RPG fan and you're subscribing for those purposes, what you like and what you need, if you like and need anything in particular, if there are other systems you'd like me to check out or want me to cover or think are pertinent to the appreciation or understanding of this and or any other topic we may discuss, let me know. And we say hello to the elephant in the room. Mondays. Indigenous Peoples Days. One of those white people days, you know. Makes you want to just go crazy. Don't get me started. What do I know? Blueberry Wolf Bridge. No outro RPG. That's all she wrote.